I'm feeling a little bit freaked out. I'm feeling a little bit freaked out about following such a group of seriously smart people. But I'm also, as a business owner, asking myself, what on earth is coming next? Like, what is the next 3, 5, 10 years going to look like based on some of the insights, some of the ideas that you've seen thrown around? And it actually reminds me of something that happened 100 years ago, in 1901. I don't know if you know this, but in 1901, the then mayor of London brought the smartest people in all of London together to create a strategic plan for 1925. So this is 1901. They had it's like this, right? They had the politicians, the business leaders, the academics, who's who, the royal family, and they settled upon 3 major issues that the City of London would have to deal with in 1925. Remember, it's 1901. What do you reckon the 3 things were?
Horse manure.
John down the front said horse manure. Well, the first thing was that they estimated, don't laugh, that's kind of right, they estimated they would need 1 million new horses to get people around based on population trends, had a few demographers in the room. Now, if you've got 1 million new horses, you've got a whole lot of other problems. Number 2 is, where do you put 1 million new horses? And 3, thank you very much, where do you clean up? Or how do you clean up after so many new horses? Now, quick question. By 1905, how useful was their strategic plan? Like, defunct, useless was this plan. And I'm sitting here out the back going, what am I going to do? I make like so many notes just listening today. And I'm thinking about all this stuff I'm going to do, all these technologies I'm going to buy. My problem is I'm scared that in 2012, that the decisions I come up with today, the answers I come up with today are going to be useless and defunct, just like the kind of the horse thing was in 1901. So it's got me thinking, well, what do we do about that? Yeah, because you come to a day like today. Now, well, let's actually back up. What mistake did the Londoners make about the future for London? Like, where did they go wrong? By the way, this is the bit where you're supposed to get involved, by the way. You're sitting there going like, does he actually want us to answer that question? Yes! Take your right hand, do this. Come on. You're not that cool, just do it. Take your shaking right hand, place it on the shoulder of the person next to you, shake them, say, wake up, we need to participate for the next 19 minutes. Oh my gosh, you've been sitting here all day just going, learn me. Well, this is your chance to kind of go, what am I going to do with all this learning that's been going on? What did they do wrong? They made a massive assumption about what the future would look like. Now, here's what blows my mind. Turns out, you go, oh, well, new technology changes the world. No, that technology already existed. So when they did the plan in 1901, the possibility of cars was not unthought of. It was well and truly in motion. It was in process. What did the leaders really do wrong is they made the assumption that the critical mass of the adoption of motor vehicles would be much slower than it actually turned out to be. And I reckon there's a risk we do that today. Now, and I say that because this is kind of my world, right, is that what you find leaders try and do is push change into the future. Why? So we don't have to do anything about it today. Who has honestly, now, don't go, oh, I'm a mistake, because that would be shameful, but who has engaged in behaviour that they should be feeling guilty about so far today that suggests that maybe that's never going to happen, that's something for tomorrow? Who's kind of had that? I know, right? No. You come to days like today to have people question your answers, to get to the heart of the assumptions you're making about what your business might look like tomorrow or the next day. And don't waste it by pushing what you've heard out there, but ask yourself, well, I don't know, I could be totally wrong about this, but I have been asking myself 3 questions. They didn't quite come out like that. I've slowly developed my 3 questions as the day went on. The first question I found myself asking, based on this morning's speakers particularly, is what, as a business leader, what as a business owner, what as an employee, whatever your role is, what do we have to do? And this might seem weird, but I'll explain why this is my question. What do we need to do to create new value? Does that make sense? Because we have been phenomenally successful. This nation, of which I now am proud to be a part, I'm not obviously American, I don't exactly sound American, but like coming here, I mean, you have a proud tradition of innovation and change, cutting edge, of profitable organizations, and many of you work for those, or if not profitable, impactful, for those of you in the non-profit part of that equation. Quick question, what are you going to need? This is what leaders do. What are you going to need 3, 5 years down the track to be able to create new value? Not to continue with your existing business model, continue with your existing technology, continue with your existing skill set. Because based on everything we've seen today, we continue with our existing model, behavior, skill set. Are we likely to remain and get the same consistent success, yes or no? No, we're likely to diminish. Our margins are getting squeezed. I mean, who's not feeling this? Already the global financial crisis didn't reduce supply, did it? There wasn't less competition as a result of the GFC. There was just less what? Demand. So it squeezes margins. So we as innovators have to go, right, how do we create new value? Which comes in one or two forms. Either one, we do it by extracting more value out of our organizations today, like cutting costs, shipping stuff overseas, et cetera, or we come up with genuinely new ways of bringing value to market. Now, I have two thoughts about this. Number one, what have we developed in the last 10 years as our habit for extracting more value out of our model? That is, reducing costs. What have we been doing? Shipping jobs, right? Like we send that stuff to another part of the world. I do as much work in China as I do in America. It's not a bad idea. Do you know they're building 1,350 universities in China right now? They are building 150 airports. But which part are we shipping of what we have here in America of our value? Which thing do we get rid of first? Customer service. Isn't that true? So I, as an outsider, go, well, what is America's real value? Here's what I reckon it is. It's that you own the relationship with the economic buyer. You have the brand, you have the phone numbers, you have the social networks. You own the relationship with the person who makes decisions, that has the influence, has the money, and you're shipping that stuff overseas. So as a business, what I'm thinking now after today is, wow, what I need to do is invest in the intangible things that I can truly hold on to sustainably as a competitive advantage, less so almost than the intangible things, because you just met a whole lot of people who are going to invent the tangible stuff for you. So our role as business leaders, as leading staff, as whatever your role is again, is to look at how do you get the intangible pieces out of that. So here's another question. If that's how we do it, and by the way, you get that that's the same thing as coming up with whole new ways of doing what you do, right? Like, so where as an organization, regardless of sector, are you likely to come up with those breakthroughs? How are you going to come up with those breakthroughs? Where are you going to get the new value from? This is, again, time to participate. Think about this. Talk to your customer. Yeah. It's going to be talent, isn't it? It's going to be humans who are going to come up with the breakthroughs. It's humans who have invented the stuff that you have seen. It is brilliant, unbelievably talented people. The question is, so this is my second question, is how do we get new value? Great talent. 2, what is that talent going to look like? Because that's the next big question I'm asking, meaning what is the kind of person, what are they going to look like, what are they going to sound like, where are they going to come from, what kind of education are they going to have that I need to bring into my world, bring into my organization to create the breakthrough. And I've got a bit of a sense they might be young. Did you get the same sense, yes or no? Now, this is cash for comments. I happen to study a bit of that kind of stuff, but I've never heard of, and this may be just my lack of education, the rule of 27. Did you hear that idea? I sat there going, the rule of I thought what was going to come out of that is it worth employing anyone over 27? Now, that was not what I thought, right, like properly thought. But seriously, I have a feeling that the kind of talent you're going to need to get those breakthroughs in intangible value and innovation that ultimately you're going to have to do to remain competitive, not just as a company or as an organization, but as a country, like internationally, is going to come from really bright people. And I get a sense that you're going to see increasingly that they are younger than previously you got those innovations. Now, would it be fair to say they come to the world or come to the world of work with a slightly different perspective than you did at the same time? Yes or no? Yeah, right? I mean, like I remember when I first now I do a lot of stuff, right? But when I first got into the space of talking about generational research and things, my father, you'll love this, said to me at a family barbecue, Pete, when are you going to get a real job? Seriously, he was like, he thought that you could get paid to do presentation. He said, that's not a real job. You should be doing that as community service. He couldn't comprehend the fact that there was economic value in intangible ideas. See the biggest shift? That's that first question again. But 2, he said, generations. He said, quote unquote, he said, I was just like that when I was your age. Now, I've learned not to have that conversation with my dad, particularly after a couple of Reds. My little brother has not. He said to my old man, what do you mean just like us? What kind of videos did you watch when you were my age? My little brother could not comprehend that there weren't any videos when my dad was his age. He was like, no videos? Oh my, you know what he said? He goes, I knew you were old, but that old? And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God. He goes, did you have TV? Of course we had TV. What did you watch? I Love Lucy was his response. Now, I had heard of I Love Lucy. My little brother never heard of it in his life. Dad said, why don't you look it up, Google boy? So, he got out his laptop, looks up Wikipedia, the source of all good information in the world, and he finds out that, I don't know if this is true, but this is Wikipedia, that the scriptwriter on I Love Lucy was banned from using the word pregnant. That just blows. Single female pregnant, way too racy for network television. And I think about that, and then I think about my father going, I was just like that. And I go, no, because social values different today than they were then, yes or no? You just saw Jennifer show you technology that is in the classroom today, completely different to the technology that you might be used to. That is not only permeating the classroom, but permeating home. And the biggest shift, I think, that's happened, particularly in America, is parental styles. Total shift. When my mum was a kid, they told her she should be seen and not. She told her daughters, do, be, achieve anything you like. Go and change the world. Just don't be like that.